Good evening, guys. This side Rahul Magan is a Group Chief Executive Officer at Treasury Consulting and also a venture capitalist. I work in Treasury function and not by 1 year, 2 year for roughly 9 years. And I started my Treasury career in 2007. When I started in Treasury career, I was very fascinated that I am going to be meeting with bankers. And I used to treat bankers with high respect. In fact, I still remember my first meeting after joining my treasury career in 2007 was with Bank of America. In fact, in that meeting, the India head of Bank of America was there, and I was very, very excited to meet with the India head of Bank of America. I used to believe that they are the most intelligent people we have on this planet. This was my perception about banker in 2007. Eventually, as the time passed, and I worked hard on both Reuters and Bloomberg, and my own passion to learn more led me to a situation that I started raising a lot of questions, in fact, fundamental questions about economy, Indian rupee, and all these things to the front office desk of various banks. And in majority of the cases I was not getting any reply, or I was getting a plain vanilla reply. So what I meant to say that I used to ask exotic questions and I am getting the plain vanilla questions. In fact, today also on Reuters, what I do, I have a help desk, basically Reuters having a help desk, and I'm asking very hot questions from Reuters and really I get a reply. By the time I quitted my corporate career in 2016, I was having number of evidences that do not even think that banker is an intelligent person, because a banker is a person who really read newspapers, who really upgrade his knowledge. Rather, he is a person who go with the flow. And after 2016, when Treasury Consulting LLP incorporated, followed by Singapore, then Hong Kong, we opened up in public space on the YouTube channel because I was not having any obligation, and I proved number of times that how bankers reacted, and thanks to banks themselves that they did so many frauds that they themselves proved that where they stand, whether it's a money laundering, it is 1MDB, or there are so many scandals that banks did. Once again, I got one more point to explain thing with facts. Currently, there are two things which are happening in India as far as the RBI is concerned. And about RBI, my opinion is always very clear that RBI needs a training program, and we are willing to give to RBI, but not free. But we will give using live Bloomberg, because RBI really lacks skills. There are two things that are floating in the air about RBI. Number one, RBI is saying that they let rupee decided by the market. So they are comfortable enough that even if rupee will go to 71, even that mess in the economy, and how come rupee go to 71 using market forces, that is a question. So let me repeat, even after this mess, if rupee will touch 71, using the word called market forces, that is subject to complete discussion. Anyways, second thing which are in the air is about RBI words on yields. I'm not covering the part second, I will have separate video in that regards. About point one, RBI said that we let rupee as per the market. So let me read something for you. The Reserve Bank of India Reserve Bank of India acknowledgement that an appreciating rupee is helping to offset imported inflation has perplexed many in the market. The statement was seen and odd, especially since RBI has kept a strong hold on the exchange rate so far by absorbing dollar to keep the rupee from appreciating. Also, the central bank refrained from making a direct statement on the exchange rate publicly. When that bought on this surprise change in approach towards exchange, so on and so forth, some economists say that central bank is getting angsty over the surfeit of liquidity in the banking system. Guys, I would like to let you one thing that the word called imported inflation. What do you mean by the word called imported inflation? Assuming Indian rupee is at 77, and we all understand that India having more imports than exports. That is also a fact. Since more imports are happening, this will put lot of pressure on the rupee because people cover their exposure using forward, plain Manila forward. Hardly anyone cover using options, you know. In fact, just to tell you that few days ago, I was talking to one of the so-called big FMCG companies in Bangalore. His treasurer was even not aware about what is fair value hedging. We had a call with the director, and director asked me on the phone, what do you mean by fair value hedging? And I immediately disconnected the call by saying that first you learn what is fair value hedging, and how can you be a director in that company without even knowing what is fair value hedging. Anyways, I'm damn sure that majority of the people, those who are watching this video themselves, do not know what is fair value hedging. You can refer our YouTube videos. There are many videos in that regards. So imported inflation means when rupee go up, things will, example, I make this pen. Okay. This ink of the pen I import from US. Rest all this body of the pen I make in India. This ink is the major cost factor we have in the development of the pen because this I import from India, from US. And assuming I import $10,000 every month from US. If the more depreciating Indian rupee is, the ink that I bring back, basically I buy from US, would be costly. Common sense. So suppose in first month January I import this ink and $10,000 of voucher or invoice, assuming the rupee is 70, it means you understand. So $10,000 into 70, 7 lakh rupees. Wait, 10,004 and 5, yeah, 7 lakh. And in December, $10,000, and suppose the rate is 77, it means 7,70,000. It means the 70,000 which I paid additionally because I got this ink from US and I have no capability to make this ink in India. I am going to be charging my customers more. Common sense. There are 3 pen manufacturers we have in India. This company, company B, company C. And all 3 companies, A, B and C, are importing ink from US. Body they make in India. It means when the rupee depreciate, they have to pay more. They will pass this cost to the consumer. And here the consumer is the student, the corporate, the education society who is using the pen, or anyone in the whole India who is using the pen, because pen is the basic necessity we do have as of now. Imported inflation means, suppose in January rupee was 70 and in December rupee reduced to 65. It means that company shelled less rupee to get that ink. Now that much saving they can either put in their pockets, or they can in the form of profits, or they can pass this to their customer. So assuming this pen is costing 5 rupees, they will pass this to customer by charging 4.5 rupees. So some part they keep as profit, some they will pass to the customer. This is imported inflation. And our media right now is completely focusing on the word called appreciating rupee will cut down, or rather eradicate, the imported inflation. Hey guys, if you do not have knowledge, then stop calling yourself as media, right? Because the biggest problem in India is not the imported inflation, rather it is a foreign funding which is coming in India. Guys, do you know there is a myth which is there in India is that even today that an external commercial borrowing is more costlier than Indian rupee borrowing. What a shit. Guys, do you know standing today 10-year ECB of USD INR is at least 2.5% cheaper than getting a short-term loan. And I even I even feel strange sometimes, in fact most of the times, when I get such news in the media. And that news is like this. I don't know if you're able to see it not. Short-term borrowings cost fall below overnight repo. This is published on 4th September newspaper. Hey guys, in this whole article you even not compared with the ECB rate. There are many companies in India, those who raised ECB or those who are in the processing of raising an external commercial borrowing. Whenever the dollars will come in India as an external commercial borrowing, either by any company, big, small, or medium, this acts as a liability on the country as a whole. And this added in the NIIP, which is FX liabilities of the country. But the hard reality is that never ever in the media, except on the RBI website, you will get a figure of FX liability. In fact, most of the people can even acknowledge that I am always raising a point of NIIP, net international investment position, which is a difference between FX assets and FX liabilities rather than pushing the point of FX asset. So our mainstream media is currently focusing on the liquidity in the banking system, appreciating rupee, and imported inflation. Fancy words, but they do not even see that, hey guys, the impact of that on the ECBs which companies are raising, and also on the non-deliverable forward contracts of Indian rupee. In that regard, one of the great banker, the reason for this is explained by Pranjul Bhandari, Chief Economist, HSBC Securities and Capital Markets. One hand, ample liquidity is necessary to support and revive the economy after an unprecedented shock, but too much of it would stoke mass macro imbalances such as inflation and wider trade deficit, especially hurting the very recovery it was meant to support. Mr. Bhandari, nothing personal, but I think if you need some knowledge, then you can contact Treasury Consulting, because Treasury Consulting wanted to tell you one thing very clearly, that rather than focusing on the so-called imported inflation, you should focus on the foreign flows that are coming in India, which will definitely impact the Indian rupee, if not in the short term, definitely in the mid-term. Secondly, Mr. Bhandari, I hope HSBC not told you that the biggest problem in India is not imported inflation, and rather ECB is about the deficit financing, which is also known as monetization of the national debt. Today, the biggest issue as far as the RBI is concerned about the deficit financing, monetization of the national debt, and more importantly, the dividend transfer, than the associated impact of that on the whole economy. But I think you missed this point. I can even consider that you missed this point, but you have given a whole paragraph, and I really doubt whether your understanding of this matter is right or wrong. Mr. Bhandari and all the bankers, I would like to let you know that in 2007 I was having a great respect for bankers, but now the respect is completely zero. And I challenged you and your report that if you really think that your report is correct, you can give me a call and I can explain what all facts you missed in that. Rather than focusing on the imported inflation by the mainstream media, we should focus on the net international investment position, because the rising FX liability is not good as a country. We should focus about the deficit financing, a huge printing of money by RBI, direct or indirect, and an associated impact on the structural banking system of India. And last but not the least, about the dividend transfer between RBI and Government of India. I once again would like to close my video with the same remark that nowadays I read business newspaper even at 2 a.m. in the night, not knowing something different. Rather, I wanted to know that how much percentage of knowledge I would have lost provided I was not aware about this. Thankfully, I understand these things. But I really doubt about these poor guys, those who are doing MBAs and they are reading this article, and several of the young guns would be making a notes in the diary imported inflation without even understanding how it is happening. This is our bankers, this is our media, and this is how we present. We see sparrow, we report in media as crow, while once we read, we see this as pigeon. But actually, we saw sparrow. From sparrow to pigeon, no one knows how we started from sparrow and reached to pigeon. To me, one thing is straight and simple, which the mightiest warrior in Mahabharata, Karna, was always known for. He said that, who the hell I'm looking at the eye of the bird? No, I'm looking at the eyelid of the bird. In the five Pandavas, somebody was looking at mango, somebody was looking at tree, while Arjuna was looking at the eye of the bird. While the mightiest warrior in Mahabharata and my favorite, Mr. Karna, he was looking at the eyelid of the eye. Extreme precision. So, dear media, if you look at sparrow, report sparrow. Do not report pigeon. Or do not report in such a way that the sparrow convert as crow and the reader will see crow as pigeon. This is all about one of the fantastic achievements of reporting I am learning nowadays. This is Rahul Magan from Tertiary Consulting. You know our WhatsApp 9818485155. Any questions about our paid program, our H1 desk, and anything, you can definitely ask. And Motivai, remember that on 8th September we are launching our petroleum desk. Have a great time and talk soon.